Hello! My name is Grace, and I recently completed the 12-week course from The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, a book about unblocking yourself creatively. The results have been really uplifting, encouraging, scary, and unexpected, and you name it. But it was an amazing experience overall, and I recommend it to anyone who feels creatively blocked. But today, I want to share with you 5 things that I think I wish I would have done before starting The Artist's Way. So if you decide to take the course, you can go into it a little bit more prepared than I was. But just to be clear, these are not things that you have to do by any means before embarking on your journey. These are just a short list of things that I took away from my personal experience. So the first thing I wish I would have done is picked a dedicated notebook for the weekly tasks. You could also make this the same place that you're doing your morning pages if you want, or you can put them in separate places, whatever you want. I think just for the tasks specifically, I wish I had had one place that I picked from the very beginning that I would consistently put those in. When I did this course, I was kind of switching back and forth between digital note-taking and analog, like in a real notebook. And if this kind of thing doesn't matter to you, feel free to skip this one. But I just kind of wish everything had been in one place so that when I go back and look at my progress, I can see everything in one place in chronological order, and it's not all scattered in like different notebooks here and there and on my note-taking app on my phone/laptop. I wish I had committed to a notebook specifically because there are a few tasks that ask you to draw things or make little diagrams, and that might be difficult depending on what note-taking app digitally that you're using. You should plan to use it for writing, sketching, making lists, and even scrapbooking and maybe even flower pressing. If you are doing digital, make sure you have a good way to organize your files and pick like a consistent naming system for all of them as you go. Pretty basic advice, I know, but I was not good about that in the beginning. I just started using Obsidian as a note-taking app because I was having problems with Microsoft OneNote, but either one would work really well. I'm a big fan of Obsidian, even though I've just recently started using it. I feel like it's a lot more organized. I really like all of the accessibility options that you have with it. This is not sponsored, but I'm available. The second and probably most important thing that I wish I had done before I started The Artist's Way, and you can skip everything else in the video after this one if you really want, is get a planner. And I know that is such normie advice, and using a planner doesn't work for everybody, but I am the type of person who tends to procrastinate and get distracted and kind of take my notes and put them in all sorts of different places, like I just said. I didn't get a planner until week 10 out of 12, and I wish I had done it so much earlier because as soon as I got it, it was so helpful. As I got more comfortable with making art again and setting goals for myself, it became really challenging to keep track of all of those things, the projects I was working on, my goals, and the artist dates, and the tasks. So it was really helpful to just have that laid out for me every week. And I'm still using it now, even after finishing The Artist's Way, and it's been great. This is especially good too for any tasks that you might not get to in a week, because then you can kind of just log them in a queue for next week and you won't have forgotten about them completely. Each week, some of the tasks are going to feel like, oh, I can knock this out right away. But then there will be others that require you to plan an outing or brainstorm or even do a little something every day of that week. So this is a really good thing to keep track of those things. This is my planner that I got off of Etsy, and some of the things I really like about this planner are that there are no set dates in there, so when I inevitably forget to use it for a couple months, I can pick it back up and not have wasted any of the pages. It's also got this nice like weekly layout, which just kind of works best for my brain. I didn't realize how many different options there are on Etsy now. Maybe it's just been a really long time since I've bought a planner, but whatever your preferences are, I'm sure you can find something that works for you with just a little browsing. The third thing that I wish I had done before starting was been a little bit more prepared for wrist and hand strain. One of the first challenges that came up for me was the surprising amount of physical strain doing handwritten morning pages every morning. 3 pages, around 750 words, and maybe my margins are really small. I also use a really fine tip pen, so that could have been part of it too, but it just hurt my hand a lot. I think what happened is like a combination of being out of practice with taking notes since I've been out of college for a while now. I also would try to write them really fast because it's a stream of consciousness and you don't want the thought to get away from you. So I was like setting the paper on fire with how fast I was trying to write. And the fact that my creative output was finally increasing after doing a lot of the tasks and exercises. I was painting and drawing a lot more, so all of those things on top of each other really started to hurt. I also had to put like a dresser together one weekend that required a lot of like twisting and pushing a screwdriver into these weird metal bolts I've never seen before, so that could have something to do with it too. I would love to hear if anyone else experienced this because it was kind of maddening, and I don't know if it was just me, but I ended up switching to typing the morning pages because of this, because it's a little less hard on your hand. I think there's pros and cons to each, both typing and handwriting, but ultimately I don't think that you really miss out on anything by doing more typing than writing. I don't think typing them makes them low quality by any means or less impactful for your growth. Anyway, in general though, whether you're typing or writing, you will be using your hand a little bit more, and so just be prepared to take breaks from other crafts that involve use of your dominant hand, and really listen to your body at the first signs of strain and uncomfortableness, because you don't want that to turn into something more serious. You should also have some books to read and some other enriching hobbies that don't involve using your hands that you'll feel good about doing when you can't use it, and try to loosen up and be mindful of all the ways you are using your hands every day for things as simple as driving or cooking or scrolling on your phone. You might even have to play a little less video games, which devastating, I know. Most of all, just accept that you're human and you're gonna need rest. And with starting any exercise, physical or mental, there's gonna be a period of where you need to let your muscles grow a little bit. All right, the fourth thing I wish I had done was made preparations for week 4. Week 4 involves the prolonged task of reading deprivation for the entire week, which, if we're honest with ourselves, that should really include social media for us too. For that reason, I usually end up calling this task media deprivation instead, and it will not be easy no matter who you are. I think because this task was written for someone living in the 90s, it is reasonable to put different guardrails around this depending on what your artist needs today in 2025. For example, Julia says you can listen to music this week, but if you're a musician or someone who actually has music on in the background constantly of your life, that might be something you actually want to restrict this week. Maybe you allow yourself to do some things that aren't typical to your routine while restricting the things that are. For example, my vices that I thought needed restricting were social media when I'm procrastinating, YouTube videos in the background literally all the time, and reading while I'm on the treadmill at the gym. But I hardly watched any movies. Like, I would binge a TV show here and there, but I really would never sit down to watch a movie these days. It just doesn't happen. So I thought it was right to completely cut out social media, YouTube, reading, but I would let myself watch one DVD from my DVD shelf a night, just so I wouldn't go completely insane. You may want to, just do a list of things that might be entertaining that week. There's a list already provided in the chapter, but it's not an extensive list, so do things that make sense for you. Definitely driving to places that are kind of out of the way might be a good idea as well, to go to like your favorite park, a restaurant across town, that sort of thing. At the end of the day though, if you are trying this exercise and you are miserable and you're not getting enough sleep and not getting anything done, notice that, reflect on why, and then just move on. In today's day and age, I think many of us have been conditioned into receiving constant dopamine hits and instant gratification every single day, all day. So even if we don't consider ourselves addicted to social media and all of these things, taking all of that away and not replacing it with anything can be surprisingly uncomfortable and painful. For me personally, I had a lot of trouble sleeping that week because I think I was just low on dopamine that I was used to getting. And I only truthfully made it through about 4.5 days before I was like, okay, I'm done. So if you can't do 7 days, don't beat yourself up. Give it your best effort, push through the discomfort as long as you can, and then learn from it and take those lessons into the next week. And finally, this is a small one, but the fifth thing that I wish I had done was gotten a physical copy of the book instead of what I did. That way I'd be able to loan it out to friends and family. I really enjoyed my experience reading it on the Kindle because it was convenient. But once you finish the book, you will probably want to share it with other blocked creatives in your life. In fact, Julia even asks you to do that. Feel free to ignore this one if you're not the type to lend out books anyway, but I wish I'd gone with a physical copy in the end because I ended up buying one anyway to give to my dad. The chapters aren't so long that you can't set aside time to read them at a desk or on your couch. I wouldn't have hated writing in the margins and dog earrings in pages as well. I know you can highlight things on Kindle, but it just doesn't feel the same. So those are my 5 things that I wish I'd done before starting The Artist's Way. Again, these are not things that are essential to your progress at all. I'm sure you can tell that by now, that they're pretty silly basic things. I experienced incredible results with my creativity even without preparing these things. So take it with a grain of salt. These are just things that I thought would have been helpful for me in my journey. And I hope at least a couple of them are helpful for you as well. If you have any feedback or ideas of your own, feel free to leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you liked this video, please consider checking out my sister video on 5 things I'm glad I did before starting The Artist's Way, which includes 5 totally separate things that you can use to prepare for your foray into the 12-week course. If you liked this video, do me a favor and like and subscribe. And thanks for watching, and good luck!